Merhabalar, 15 dakika gecikmeyle başlıyoruz. Sesim geliyor değil mi Taner oraya? Tamam. Değerli konuklar, saygıdeğer meslektaşlarım ve değerli öğrenciler, hepiniz kütüphanemize hoş geldiniz. Hakikat ve kütüphaneler teması ile bu sene 58. yılını kutladığımız kütüphane haftamızın 3. gününde sizi Bilkent Kütüphanesi'nde ağırlıyor olmaktan mutluluk duyuyoruz. Ben Bilkent Üniversitesi Kütüphanesi direktörü olarak hepinizi saygıyla selamlamak istiyorum. Bildiğiniz gibi pandemiyle beraber zaten her şeyin artık internetten edindiğini düşünen kullanıcılarımız pandemiyle beraber bu daha da arttı ama kütüphanelerin doğru ve güvenilir bilgiyi sunma rolü bu dönemde daha fazla ortaya çıktı. O da bizim rollerimizi tekrar gözden geçirmemize, dünkü session'larda yani Goethe Enstitü'de yapılan toplantılarda da metaverse'ler konuşuldu, kütüphanelerin geçmişten bugüne kadar gelen rolleri konuşuldu ve kütüphanecilerin de bir an evvel bu teknolojik gelişmelere ayak uydurup bilgi doğruluğunu, bilgi savunucuları rollerini nasıl üstlenmeleri gerektiği üzerinde önemli konuşmalar oldu. Umarım online herkes takip edebilme şansı oluyordur. Gerçi şu anda Türkiye'de pek çok paralel session var, pek çok üniversite kütüphanesi, halk kütüphanesi ve okul kütüphaneleri pek çok oturum düzenlediler. Onun için hem bir yandan sevindirici ama bir yandan da tabii her yerde bulunamadığımız için hepsini dinleme şansımız olmadı maalesef. Biraz dijitalleştirmekten bahsetmek istiyorum. Çünkü bugünkü konuğumuz özellikle dijitalleştirme konusunda bizimle bilgilerini paylaşıyor olacak. İletişim teknolojilerinin gelişmesi insanların sosyal medyada geçirdiği sürelerin artmasına neden oldu. Bununla beraber herkes tabii içerik üretimi yapan, işte takipçi sayısı, etkileşim, algoritma kavramları insanların hayatlarında doğru bilgiden daha çok değer görür hale geldi maalesef. O nedenle de kütüphanelerin önemi daha çok ortaya çıktı. Bu anlamda da bireylerin bilgi okuryazarlığı becerilerini geliştirmede kütüphanecilerin destek ve yönlendirmesi daha değerli hale geldi. Eminim ki bu haftadan sonra biz bu rolleri daha fazla düşünüyor ve nasıl uygulamada proaktif bir halde öğrencilerimizle, kullanıcılarımızla nasıl uygulamalarda bulunacağımızı aramızda daha fazla tartışacağız gibi görünüyor. Tabii Covid-19'la beraber aslında dijitalleştirme projeleri ülkemizde çok fazla yaygınlaşmaya başlamıştı son yıllarda. Ancak Bilkent Üniversitesi Kütüphanesi'nde 2015 yılında mikroformlar, tezler, ders notları ve öğrenci projeleri için başlattığımız dijital projelere özel koleksiyonlarımızla devam etmeyi planlıyoruz. Biz de biliyorsunuz Halil İnalcık koleksiyonu, Hasan Ali Yücel koleksiyonu ve çok daha fazla özel koleksiyonlarımız var. Bunlar çok kıymetli koleksiyonlar ve bir an evvel toplumla ve bizim değerli kullanıcılarımızla buluşturmayı hedefliyoruz. Şimdi ben çok lafı uzatmadan biraz da gecikmeli başladığımız için konuğumuzu bugün size tanıtmak istiyorum. Wildau Teknik Üniversitesi Kütüphane Müdürü ve değerli meslektaşım Sayın Doktor Frank Seeliger bugün aramızda olacak. Kendisinin bugünkü sunum başlığı dijitalleştirme ve kütüphaneler, korona pandemisinin sonuçlarının etkileri ve öğrettikleri olacak. Doktor Seeliger eğitim kariyerini elektronik mühendisliği, antik Amerikan çalışmaları, kültürel antropoloji ve kütüphane bilimi alanlarında gerçekleştirmiştir. 2006'dan bu yana da ekibiyle beraber RFID teknolojisi, robot kullanımı, otomasyon ve dijitalleştirme alanında çalışmaktadır. Benim sizden ricam hem salonda bulunan arkadaşlarımız hem live'da eğer yazma şansları varsa soruları yoksa da mailleyebilirsiniz. Kendisi sorularınızı cevaplamaktan mutluluk duyacaktır. Kendisiyle daha önce de işbirlikleri içerisinde çalışmalarımız oldu. Bilkent Üniversitesi Kütüphanesi olarak 58. Kütüphane Haftası programı ile birlikte hazırladığımız Göte Enstitü, Türk Kütüphaneciler Derneği, Üniversite ve Araştırma Kütüphanecileri Derneği, Okul Kütüphanecileri Derneği'ne hepinizin huzurunda teşekkürlerimi sunmak istiyorum ve emeği geçen herkese ayrıca teşekkür ederek daha fazla uzatmadan Dr. Frank Seeliger'i buraya davet etmek istiyorum. Buyurun lütfen. Sorry for my presentation. Pronounce Seeliger. No, because my that's why. Konuşma dili bu arada İngilizce olacak. Ben kütüphane hakkımız Türkiye'de olduğu için
Okay. I put it here? It's okay? Okay. Günaydın. Thank you for invitation. Sorry that I don't speak so much Turkish. I know some words only, inshallah, liften, and all this. But I will promise here, the next time I will come, I have been here some years ago. I learned to count in Turkish language, so I will start after this this travel to learn a little bit and to speak a little bit about in your language too. But sorry, English is also for me a foreign language, so I will speak very slow. I know it's not my mother tongue, and pronunciation is different in different countries in English, but I try to get some information about my library, where I have a good view, and sometimes about our developments in German libraries, especially in German university libraries. I checked before, for example, the Bilkent University Library, what do you have? And I must say you have EDS as discovery system, you have online tutorials, you have a lot of databases, you have a big opening hour, 3 in the morning or 11 in the evening, you have a lot of things. So I will say as first impression for me here in the Bilkent University, in my last visit 3 years ago, and also now for check your websites, if a student is studying from Germany here in Turkey or in Cambridge or in Mexico, he has the same infrastructure. And I think in all, this is a work of library, that we have a very good level to support our students and our professors in research and in teaching and in learning, in education and so on. And this is here the same level. I will say you have no so much difference. So what I thought after them is, but I can tell you, you have the same level like we in Germany, what can I give you as new information about our developments, our thinking in Germany? I think I have to be eager to listen to you. What do you do in your library? That's interesting for me, for example. But maybe I can give you some impressions, can give some suggestions that you can do in our thinking. For example, we are working, the German libraries are working a little bit different than here in the financial part, for example. We are state financed. We have in Germany provinces, more than a dozen of federal states, and these federal states support financially run the libraries and the universities. We are state library, not a private library. We are a state university, and we have most part in Germany, we have more than 350 state universities, and we have 100 private universities. And the private university, you have to pay a tuition fee. It's the difference to state university, like here, for example. And also, the research takes place less in the private university, more in special units like Max Planck Association, Fraunhofer Association, and so on, and in universities and technical universities, of course. No? This is a little bit different. So when I tell you something about our library, you must think about or think twice that our financial part, our entanglement is a little bit different from here in Turkey, for example. So that I mean as first step. Let me explain a little bit my background. It's a normal education career that we have by a lot of leaders of libraries, of university leaders. They come from other study courses. They not studied only library science, they studied before any other science, and after them the PhD and so on. They had a further one in library science, for example, at the Humboldt University, for example, or in Munich. I started by electrician. I have been vocational training as electrician. Then I studied electrotechnic in Leipzig. Then I studied anthropology. I'm an anthropologist. I worked a lot in Mexico and also in the Himalaya mountains for my PhD, for example. And after them, I decided, like a lot of other people, to make a library work. One reason is, for example, that you have a family, you have not to travel too much. So I come back to Germany and I decided 15 years ago to work as librarian and make a library education at Humboldt University at Berlin, other master, for example. So we collected a lot of, or we gathered a lot of degrees and so on. It's important in our management that we organize. And since 2006, I'm the head of the library and try to develop services for our students and services for our staff. And the third target group are our researchers, our professors. This is my job. So what we have done, let me explain in some words only that you have a feeling what we are doing then. I would say, it's received, no? I must be, okay, dangerous a little bit. I would say that I have to do with the stewardship, with the workers of the library work, I estimate less than 50%. What I do in the other 50%. The other 50% of my job is to make new projects, to develop, to improve services, to digitize more, or to organize things in another way that we have more time for new projects, for example, or to fill in a lot of proposals, applications, and so on. That's my job as leader of the library. So I give you some impressions about my after them. And also, what is very typical, we are financed by our states, but every time the state university libraries that I am to are organized in a big network. Not only, we started 100 years ago with a network of interlibrary law. This was the first one. In the 80s, we started to work together in the idea that anybody is buying a book the first time in Germany, from Turkey, for example. Then the other ones can copy the bibliographic data. Only one has to write down in the computer and the other one can copy it. So we have a lot of interfaces and exchange protocols. And for example, you can see here, this is the example, a screenshot. We have an example of where you can find a book about Kemal Atatürk, for example, in Berlin and Brandenburg. We have more than 1,000 provinces in Germany, and we have 6 library networks. A library network means we work together for interlibrary law, for this catalog thinking and so on, and we have one of this library network. The names is Berlin, Brandenburg, Corporation, and so on, KBV in the abbreviation. And we work together with public library, with specific libraries, investigation libraries, and also with university libraries, also private universities, for example. No? We are in one network. We have a network in Berlin and Brandenburg. It's a region of 6 million inhabitants. We have, I estimate, 50 universities also, and private universities. We have a lot of libraries, public libraries. In all, we are, I think, a little bit less than 1,000 libraries. In our network, in this region of our capital and around the capital is Brandenburg, is my province. You know? And what we organized is a catalog that we can work together with Bavarian, but it's too much. And we decided, or we have the law, that we must show that you can find a book in our library, in our region of Brandenburg and Berlin in one catalog. This is a legal one. We have to do it. If you like or not, it's like a legal deposit. This is a law. We have to do it. And what we have done is to develop our own discovery tool like EDS, but a little bit others, based on the search engine of Solar. Solar is open source to manage all these indices, these indexes of different libraries together in one search engine. What I will say is we are in competition with Wikipedia, for example. 3 years ago I had not access, but now you have access to Wikipedia. Wikipedia is very important for students as first step into a new material, a new matter. The other one is, for example, of course, meta search engines like Google or other ones. You know? This is our competition situation that we have as library. And we have to do a lot of things to show that we are relevant more for a university. It's not every time the same decision. We have 2 examples in Germany. They started universities without a library. We have one example 15 years ago in North Rhine-Westphalia, is another province in the west part of Germany. And we have now an example of a complete new technical university in Nuremberg. No, as a new funding, they started in this year, I think so, with first study degrees, and they have no library inside. No? That means that we have to fight to say we are very relevant, we make a lot of support you can't find in Web of Science and Scopus. You have Scopus, for example, too, but you have also your own discovery tool, this EDS, no? For your publications, they've written down here, for example, for open expository that you have too, for your licensed work and subscribed things and others, no? That we need. And we have done it, for example, also in our region. Region means also the public library can see this book about Kemal Atatürk and the modern Turkey. You can find also in public libraries, in scientific libraries, and you get an overview. That means for students and for clients and customers, you have to travel to the library because all our libraries are open. They are text financed by tax, no? By state tax. And so there's a complete other culture than in UK, for example. If I like visit in Cambridge, I've been also in Cambridge for 1 week, I like visit a college library, I have to pay something. No? That's not the habit, it's not the right in Germany. Every library, it's open and public. But we decide, we have different libraries. We have a city library, these are the public libraries, is a notion, a special notion, public libraries. And the scientific or university libraries are also open, but not known as public library or scientific libraries, but all are open. You can go as external customer in our library and use it. The trouble that we have with a lot of software is the authentication of the foreign customers. Because you are using COA, we are using also COA, and the trouble that we have in our system, a university system, the name of the staff, of professors, of the librarians, but we haven't of external users. And this is, for example, the challenge of every software that we are using in consequences that we are open as open science, as open community for our customers. We have in our library, we have 4,000 customers and 1,000 are foreigners, inhabitants of Wildau, of Berlin, or from other parts of our state. It's free to use our library. That's the idea in Germany in general. And we work in all very, very together. Means all this, what I will show after this slide, was never done by us alone. Was every time was done by a teamwork with departments of our university, with this network of KBV, for example, or with other colleagues, never alone. All that I will show was never alone done by our librarians. We are 20 librarians, or 20, our staff in all, we are 20 persons in the library. As librarians, we are 6 or 8 persons, and the other one are students or internship persons, and we have vocational training and so on. But in all, we are 20 persons. This is my background about I speak now. Yes, of course, ask. How do you like? I'm invited and I have time. Till tomorrow. Okay. Okay. We have. Yes, we have. Of course. Okay. If you come into the library, you can get all books in the stack. Of course, it's open shelf, and you can read all databases in our library at the computer. But you can't read it at home. At home, you need, like here, VPN. You are using VPN too. Or we have also shipperless authentication. You have very often a bottleneck by VPN. You cannot make a data streaming and so on. And we are using other authentication tools too, like shipperless, for example. A lot of databases are offering it, EBSCO2, for example. So these rights or these opportunities you have only as student, as staff, as member of our university. But if you come in the library, you can do it all. We have we pay for some databases more than 20,000, 40,000 euros every year, and you have access. All persons have access because it's tax paid, but not at home. This is a legal one, no? Yes, we share it in the form of interlibrary loan. But we can do it, for example, we have an interlibrary loan system, very old, 100 years old, and we can print it out, this article of our database, and deliver it by letters in a paper form to the address of the others. That's possible. Yeah, could be a good idea. Yes, to reduce the budget, but what hate the investigators and the researchers, they hate to wait. They don't wait. Students do. So you need in the real time the access to this publication, or they go to Sci-Hub. We try to avoid that they are using Sci-Hub, for example, as shadow library. No? You know the shadow library. Sci-Hub is very used here also in Turkey, I know. So what I will say is, for example, we have a big deal. We have deal negotiation in a network of all libraries in Germany with Elsevier publishers, for example. This is one of the famous deals that we had, because this contract not exists now, just now, so far. And we have 3 or 4 libraries, they not have a boycott of this publisher. We are too. We have Elsevier license since a lot of years, no? For some years. Also 3 other libraries in Germany. And the other libraries make a boycott. They don't buy something. They're not subscribed since 2015 products of publication, as articles and so on, of the Elsevier publisher. That has, for us, the consequence that we have a lot of interlibrary launch of Elsevier articles to other libraries. No? So we have a lot to print out of articles of our Elsevier database, and we send it, we delivered it to other libraries in the case of interlibrary launch. That is a very busy job now. We have 100 articles every month, for example. We send it for our course to other libraries. That is the helpness that we have in Germany. Other questions, please. Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. Mm, okay. The first question is, we decide between 2 kinds of usage. The one part is a walk-in user. If you come into the library and in our opening hours and you take a book and so on, you don't need any registry. If you are going in the lending service or in the 24/7 access, I will explain a little bit later, then you need a registration of that we know who. Not all of our students are customers of the libraries, only I think 50% or 60%. You don't. And also, in the case that you are of the campus or you're a student, you must not come into the library. For example, I studied library science in Humboldt University. I've never been in the library because I had a remote access to the database of the library science. So I never been there because it was under construction this time too. No? This was the consequence. And so it depends. But you can't, you have not the same right as external customer in our library. You cannot say, I have a pleasure, can you buy this book? That you can't say. You can say it, but we have not to do it. Because we get money for our target groups. And we have 3 target groups. This is the staff, this are students and professors and research. And we have to fill in. We have 500 meters in the near of our library, the public library of Wildau. We have a big cooperation with them. For example, come foreign students and they like to learn German language or English language, and they try to read some belletristic stories and so on. We have stories. We have only publication of sciences, so we send them to the public library to make a training, to exercise, to learn German. It's not our job to do it. No? And the second question, was this the first question, more or less? Was this on? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't need registration to come in the library, that's clear. What? Yes, of course, you are welcome. Yes? Mm, yes. Mm, of course. Mm, yes, of course. This, I will show, I have one slide about this too. Mm. Also, to detect and to analyze the usage of our library services is very important, because we have some services less used than others. And in the end of the year, we must decide we make a follow one for this service, or we invest in new service because not so accepted by the customers, that we have to decide. So what we do is, for example, we count everybody is coming in the library. Like you have 300,000 visitors in the last year. We have 110,000 before Corona pandemic, for example. That we know too. We have RFID tables. You put as customer, it's not the idea or not allowed to reshelve the book directly in the book in the shelf. No? We have small collected tables. These tables are outfitted with RFID readers. So we have an idea which part of books in the shelves is most used than others, for example. To decide, we have to remove the book, to discard the book, for example. We discarded in the garbage, the book, no, as a heavy job. We discarded in the last year 10,000 titles, no, of our books, for example. Because libraries, we are not a poor university, we are a university of applied sciences, it means we are a library to use. What is not used has not a right to be in the library. If you buy a book and this was lended out once, not more, in 5 years, so we discard it. We need place for other books then. So that's the idea of our library. Not in university libraries, they have very often a legal deposit, means they have to collect art from publishers of their region. They could not discard in the garbage these books, for example. Not as different. What I will say is we count all. We have also a special platform to, if we are using or you are using our database, we get a lot of log files to know what is used, which articles, which journal, and so on. Oh, wonderful. And we collect all this used data, user experience, and all this data in one platform. No? In one platform, the name is Celos, is a Czech product. We are the early adopter of this one, and runs very well because we have standards. We have standards in counting, count of 5 standard, for example, for books and for journals. And we have also standards for interfaces. Sushi protocol is one of these standards. It's very important. Automatically, we can gather all this data in one platform. And this we used to make since 2015, and now we change in a new platform. This is more performant than the other ones. People with the older one, and now we have Celos, for example. It's very important to analyze, to monitor, to observe the using of our licensed products. Now we are 20 persons, and we have a salary every year, a salary as not mine, as budget of 300,000 euros every year to spend for collection, for infrastructure, for all these things. No? 300,000 euros. Any other? Okay. What I will say, normally I'm in the opening. We met us the first time 10 years ago about RFID matters, was the 5th conference about library. We have a special library symposium, special library conference for 100 librarians, more or less, in all. We started 2008, and we have this year, for example, the 14th conference in Wildau is very common and also a little bit famous, and we take us new topics. The topic of this year, for example, in September is the best of failure. Failure means we have a lot of projects, and if you have 10 projects, one is successful and the other 9 not. And we have to speak about this experience. What kind of experience we could gather to make it in the next time better than before. No? Project means not every project is successful. That's really so. No? For example, we landed out tablets for, I think, for some years or so. No? Was not accepted by the students because you could only lend out the tablets of our campus, but not at home, was not so accepted. They like it, yes, but at home, at the student flat, for example, but not of the campus. So we canceled this project. So we speak the first time of this next conference about the cancelled or the. You have also in Istanbul, I read about an article about Fuck Up Night. Oh, sorry, Fuck Up Night is the name of this. Fuck Up Night in Istanbul means IT departments relating and speaking about project they failed. They was not successful. So a culture also in big towns to come together with different startup companies and so on, and they share the experience of some projects. But what I will say also, we decided 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago to invest in RFID in a frequency of UHF. We are using other frequency, most in the middle of Europe is HF. And now we are at the point to rethink our decision because we have some developments in RFID also just now, also in the pandemic era or time span, about to make an array of our books. Normally we have an array of classification, but we have some developments that are very interesting. This is a library in Switzerland, in Zitterberg, it's an art library. And as a student, you have the opportunity, you have no classification, you can put all these books of interest, of your own interest as reserved books for yourself together. It's not important where there is, because you can't find the book in your search catalog because they have an RFID antenna by HF, it's running by HF. You can see this is a chaotical warehouse of books, for example. But in the case that 2 times today is running this RFID antenna, this one system, so you know where the book is, not by classification, but by detection to RFID. And now we are in the situation of a fluid library. What we love, public libraries like scientific libraries, is to make this array of our books and this array of customizing, offering of our book and book spines. You know? That you can decide for yourself which books put each other and the other one pick up, stow up, and so on. And now we have, for example, a new big building for the library in Dortmund. Dortmund is famous for football, okay, that's one, and the other one is the university. And they are planning a new building of 7 or 8 floors, with more than 100 million books. And the plan is there in 3 years to start in this building with a chaotic warehouse system for the books, like a fluid library. And the question is, the crucial question, the key issue is, how we can do it. We have 2 systems. We have one system is Smart Shelf. Smart Shelf means you outfitted all your shelves with RFID, HF and HF, for example. Was an example in Qatar. Maybe you will know it in Qatar, famous Prince Library and so on, they tried it. But was not, I think, not so successful. The other one, you can send a person of library staff every day, 2 times, 3 times to make an inventory thing, no? But it's time consuming. The other one is you take a robot, for example, like this, but the robots for inventory systems are working only by UHF. So what I will say, if they come to you, they have advantage because you are working by text of UHF, not HF. And we are now in a situation that we think about, in another point of view, about HF and UHF. Maybe, I think so, we have one library in Halle, the town of Halle. They are working with the same frequency like you and your company, Kamref, here in Turkey. And maybe it's also the future that we change maybe in another frequency to get more service for our customer. The service is you can put your book where you like, and also you can put your books together in one collection as reserved books outside of any classification. That could be a new service. And the first early adopter of this service will be the university, new university of this town, Dortmund. They try it. Mr. Scharwächter is the name. So I think it was very inspiring for you, for me, that you show me your UHF applications here in your library. And yesterday I met also a colleague from Ankara. So I think the exchange of knowledge and experience is very important for libraries with language like English or other ones. Okay. What I say also, we had the pandemic situation also in Germany, of course, and we have been closed for 6 weeks in the springtime of 2020. We say in German 2020. And what we felt relatively early was that it's very important that we have cooperation partner to come into new service, because the pandemic situation brought a lot of people in a situation of scaremongering, to be shy, to muddling through all this. We had a lot of tensions in some library staff teams because one part was vaccinated, the other was not vaccinated. So we have a lot of discussion about library work and also about bias and so on. But also was the time for us to digitize a lot of our services. The most part in Germany say the Corona pandemic had also a good thing. This was to digitize all our service more, as for driver license in the public service and also for the library. And so we need a lot of partner, and important is also to develop new things in digitization, that we have a lot of cooperation directly with our professors. We have cooperation as library with faculties, with study courses, with professors, for example, with study course telematics and other ones. And here, for example, we have the laboratory of RFID. This is a part in our study course of logistics, and we work together to organize together, for example, a test equipment to test by rapid and different levels the detection of ID tags, for example. So we have organized in standard. Now we have a standard procedure to make sure that this gate runs very well for all this detection. Another one for text and so on, and for the pepper too. If I show after them our pepper, our robot application, so it comes not alone from us. We are not only licensed and bought by any company like SoftBank Robotics, but we work together here in this case with the study course of telematics. Telematics is a new word, means telecommunication and computer science in one word. So the students and these professors are very firm to develop smart home offices, smart homes, and so on. That's very important. Also, this is very highlighted in the Corona pandemic, that we can digitize a lot of our services together with partners. Partners are very important. So, what I will, time runs away, I know. What I will say in all, I will give you an impression about some tools that we developed in this pandemic Corona time span. Others maybe not. Maybe you have questions you can ask directly. I will not mention or explain more a little bit about home office and new work. Was on Tuesday very often asked or questioned in Izmir for other contribution that I held. There we have also now the situation, all librarians know that we not come back in the same situation like before Corona pandemic. Means we have now in our university the opportunity to work at home for 50% of our time. As a complete other situation. Everybody has a laptop, has Wi-Fi and all these things. We digitize our paper form, we can make signature on a digital one, and so a lot of things change now. Also, we need a digital leadership, we need virtual meetings by WebEx, by Zoom, and Big Blue Button, and so on. All is changing now. We have a lot of things change. If you have questions about stuff and how we can develop the stuff, opportunity to handle these digital tools, for example, can ask me. I will not go into the online tutorials because I've seen that you have your own in English and Turkish, your own online tutorials. They run same like in Germany, for example. And a special collection that we have, that it's not, it's interesting in all, but not as a special collection that we have in Germany. Most in the east part of Germany, we have tradition that the universities collected also the diploma, the theses, the theses of the exam, for example, bachelor thesis, master thesis, diploma, dissertation, and so on. We collected it, and we had the job to make a statistic, a virtual one, because we celebrated an anniversary of 30 years. And a lot of real events could not take place. So we have money for our anniversary, and I fill in an application to get the money for a digital project. For example, to visualize the data of our master thesis and bachelor thesis and so on. But the other one was very important is that we give a lot of information literacy courses like you. And how we can see the results. We analyzed for half a year, as from the last autumn now in the springtime, the theses after the references, only references. Is the reference right? We are missing something, data and the bibliographic data and so on. We analyzed 5 works of every study course, how they cited and recited, and how they have a good practical work in science. Not only formal, not informal. The content is not our topic, it's the topic of the professor, only the formal criteria of a good scientific work. We have rules about this. In Germany, we have our rules, petty four rules. But, and we analyzed, and we and also the professors were very surprised about the bad condition of our theses. So the consequence of this analyzing of this data, of this collection, was to improve our service, to adopt our information literacy courses more than before to the students' requirements, that they have other awareness about good scientific work. This is a big idea or a big result of our analysis that we have done. No? And so we have also done other works. For example, we need also classification to find a work, of course. And it's a philosophy in Germany, or we have two words in Germany. One word says, never we make something alone, we license a product by ex libris, ALMA, for example. And the other part of our society and librarian in Germany thinks we need our own data, we make it for ourselves, we are using open source. Open source is a big topic, but the bigger libraries decided for itself, open source runs not very well, we need a provider and a host, like ex libris, for example, or Clarivate also. No? And in this case, Finland collects and developed a tool for artificial intelligence who can make a classification by DCC, the classification DCC. And we try to use, in this year for our classification, we have other classification, and we try to make a classification of this special collection of our theses, make more visible for students. Because, what do you think? What is the most asked question in our library is, where's the restroom? But what do you think? What is the most used collection in our library? What do you think? It's Elsevier, electronic products, ebooks, journals. These are the theses. No? We have OpenShelf for theses. Some are in the archive, not all. 1/3 in the archive, the other one not. And the most used part in our library, you can count it by RFID table, not to put it on the table, is this collection of theses. Because if you are writing exam and thesis, you have a look to the other ones. They have done it. To have a feeling about the requirements. We are using, no? And the students are using our thesis. The thesis from the former one, from the other students, they absolve, they finish the study to see what is the expectation, the requirement of a good master thesis. You couldn't see the evaluation, also it's 1 or 2 points or so, couldn't see, but you get an expectation, or you can get a framework of value of this master thesis, for example. The most used part by students is our collection of theses. So it's important to improve the service, to give them an overview, the same topic they have written down in this case, and so on. So, yes, of course. Yes, we try. We start in this year, in the September, with a project by students, by our own students. Also, we have also a study course in library computer science, and we start a project for 3 terms to develop or to see, is ANEF outfitted to also not only to make a classification of table of contents, we are working by table of contents of these theses and keywords and the metadata, bibliographic data, and we try with this scope of information to decide by ANEF, is this the classification A, B, or C, for example. That's the idea. We have, for example, the National Library. The National Library has the legal deposit of electronic books and journals. They have not enough stuff to make the classification by personal mind. They have automation of them, and they are using NF2, for example, but it's outfitted and is adopted, aligned, and so on. But we have 2 or 3 libraries that are using NF to make a classification for a lot of materials where they have no time to invest personal stuff into the classification work, like our National Library. They have the legal deposit of the electronic products of publications, but they came more than 100,000 titles of printed books, 500,000 of electronic books, and they have no the stuff to make intelligent work to make a classification. So they are using tools like ANEF, our National Library, maybe your too. So, we are trying it, it's not sure. We are not at the end of this project. We start by this project. Yeah, okay. Huh? Yes, this is right. Okay. Okay. Yes, is it? We have every year we get 600 theses in our collection, and 1/3 is closed for maximum 5 years. Means this thesis is developed together with a private company. The private company has its own right, so you must be reserved. But the idea in our society is that you get a degree, a graduate degree, like bachelor, master, doctor. You have to publish, you make public your thesis, that you can check it, it's okay or not. I have the title, doctor, so you must read my doctor thesis. This is open too. I have an open title and I have an open work. That's the idea. If you are using your graduating title, then you must also open your work for them. Means not the work in all. No, it's, we have the law that you need, as we have to give, for example, for dissertation, I think 16 copies to my library, and they make exchange of other libraries. And in our case, we get 1 copy of them. Not 6 copies like here, you get 6 copies of publishers, so I know. We have also a legal deposit here in Turkey of 6 copies. Our national library gets 3 copies, and I get 1 copy of this exam work as bachelor or master thesis of everyone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Copyright. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so. Also, you share your knowledge, why not? This is for our, okay. Also, in general, I would say, in esports of Germany, we have the tradition that very often in a lot of universities, not in all, they collect also bachelor and master theses. We are in all 20 libraries or 20 universities. The other no. And the rest part not. But what we have in Germany is, the legal one is that everybody who has done his PhD, you need a copy into the library as open access very often, or is published by a publisher. If you get the title of a doctor, you must publish your work. This is a very old law. The new, what we have in our university, what is special and maybe different to others, is that you have a student to give 1 copy to the library of your final work, like bachelor or master thesis. In the other one, like in Potsdam or so, they haven't this rules, they have other rules. It depends on every university. Yeah, sorry, a little bit different cultures then, I think so. Okay, and also this, let's show a little bit more this project. One of our first jobs was that we have hygiene rules, we have to follow the hygiene rules. We fight it to reopen our library after 6 weeks, was a very hard fight, because we have to collect all data of users into the library. They have more to write on the paper, disconnect, also to contact and the name and so on. And we are, as technical university libraries, tried to automatize or by smartphone this workflow. So we have our own app as a web-based app, not based on different operating systems like Android or iOS. We have a web-based web, and by QR code as guest or as student and stuff, you can automatically detect that you are here in the hall, and we have the data in the case of anybody has, how you say it, has corona or so, we can give this data of connection in this time and this slot to our public health service, for example. And other libraries like the Bavaria State Library developed in service, because in this time also for corona, not only for contact, but also to manage the space. A lot of our reading rooms are overcrowded. Overcrowded now because we have to make the rules for distance, social distance. So normally we have workplace for 150 persons. Now we have 80 workplaces, less than half them, and other libraries too. And to manage that, you get a slot for 2 hours or for the whole day to work into the library. They develop also other apps, web apps or other apps like Bavaria. You can book your slot. Costs nothing for students, it's free for all, but you can organize better than before to use the place, for example. That's the idea. And this is a benefit of the corona pandemic, was developed at first to give the information to the public health service, and the second one to organize in a better one that the place is outfitted for all. That was the idea, was a side effect, more or less. Of course, what we have done too is to protect by wall our stuff is very important, of course. And also was very important that we avoid the proximity bias. The proximity bias is a big trouble in Germany. Maybe you know the name. Means you have some digital workers. No, we have digital workers. They are working more at home than in the office. You can work completely at home since 2 years. For 2 years, you have the legal to do it. And it's very important that you come together and everybody has the same voice, that you not forget as footnote, the other people, they are working at home, but you can't visit directly. No? And so the proximity bias means not to prefer the people they are in the room, in the physical room, but you have not to forget the people they are working at home. They have to do the same. No? That's very important, to have the feeling that you are working together. Also we had a lot of tensions and developments and a lot of small stories about our library stuff, but was important also as leader and as team that you feel like a team member. You are one part of all. That was very important. And we have done a lot of things to do it, for example. Okay, and the crucial question also was that the most of our lectures have not take place, like here, was a Zoom conference on campus. No, they've never been in our library or our campus. They don't know where they are. They don't know the other students and so on. This is a big topic also. Like here, I think so. As students, my son is also studying in Dresden, never seen the other students, for example. So this is a trouble. So normally we said it was a proverb or was a mantra that the third place is the library. The first place is your home, the second the workplace, and the third one is the library, but we have to do it now. Now means that we have to digitize our services more than before. Means at first our library was a factory hall. They disassembled locomotives 100 years ago as a listed building. Then we have been with 3 floors, was no floor on the crane and so on. Then was the library, and now we're in a situation that we have to make a 3-dimensional system and to develop new services like in a physical space. I tried to get the access to this space, was not permitted here in this moment, but I will say, could you, if you see this picture, do you have any desire to this picture? If you are virtually into the library, what you desired, for example, or you go in the physical library, what kind of information you are missing in the physical one and in the virtual one? If you go to the shelf, you get the information, you see the sign, the book spine, this book is in the shelf. Okay. I can go to the catalog, but you haven't cataloged by yourself. But you can see not. You can see what is not in the shelf, what is landed out, borrowed, and you can't see what kind of ebook to the same topic do you have in your shelf, in virtual shelf. And to bring it together, for example, is one of our big jobs. We developed, outfitted with iBeacons. You can see with your smartphone where you are in the library by iBeacons, open hardware and so on. You can see by this signal, and you stay before the shelf. You can see the book spines, they are there. You can put it, and you see too, not about QR code, directly off your smartphone, what books you have about the same topic as ebook by Springer publishers also. And you can see also what is not available because lent out. That is the information. We bring together the digital work and also the physical work. And we present the first results in the next conference in May in Leipzig. That I can't show you now. Sorry for them. I can send you then. The link runs away. But this was the big challenge for us to develop more digital service exactly for these students. They have never seen our campus. More than 2,000 students have never been. We have 4,000 students. Most than 50% have never been of our campus. Only not for exam, not for lecture, not for anything else. No? Means this one, also to combine the different information. Okay, you have the position by your eye beacons, you get the information what is in the shelf by your eyes, you get the information by the library catalog, what it's not available, of course, and you get by our discovery system. We have a discovery system, our own discovery system based on Solar search engine. You get information, but we have more. And for this job, it's very important that we can make a classification of our ebooks. Normally, if we get the ebooks by Springer publishers, Elsevier, Wiley, and so on, we have no classification. We have no time to make a classification work as librarian. So we need tools like artificial intelligence tools like ANEF to help us, not only for the thesis, but also for the electronic books. We have also to give them keywords and other ones, because the sended metadata are not very fine for all our requirements that we have. No, we have high standards of keywords and anything like this. And so it's very important that also all our vehicles, this is our challenge, get also a classification. Ebooks need a classification. 60% of all our ebooks have a classification automatically, because we have a project named is Culturecraft, is financed by our National Library, and says that you have keywords to the printed books, give keywords and classification, you make a copy to the ebook, for example. This is the project. As you have one for a book in your library with classification, keywords, and metadata, and so on, and give them a copy to the ebook as to fill in this data. This are missing in this part. So we make a mirror of them, more or less. But also we have a lot of books by Springer, for example, and other publishers too, that only exist as electronic books. So we have not a twin situation like by the printed book and electronic book, but we have to do them. No? We have to make an intellectual work, or we can automatically give them keywords by cover information, by table of contents, and by other data. OCLC classification? Also, yes. But to put the book in the shelf, we have another classification. It's a German classification. The name is Regensburger Verbundklassifikation, classification of any model and so on. And this is a typical one that we have in Germany, shelves. And we need the shelf mark too for orientation. So we have some correlation tables between DCC and OCLC classification, but not runs every time very well with our classification. But this is a German one. It's a German one. Okay, and we have a robot. We have since 2017 a robot. Is a nice one, and yeah, makes sense or not, I'm not sure. But we started 2017 to combine, to have a computer, a humanoid robot with a new service. The service that we need is 24/7 and 7 days access around the clock, like here, almost here. Huh? And if you have done a survey, you are doing a survey now too, no? A questionnaire survey. We get very often information that the students are very angry about opening hours. It's too short. Normally students are working, I can see by the log files in our PVIC and so on, they're working in the morning, 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock, in the evening and so on. But normally the library is closing 8 p.m. No? We have open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. How we can make it longer? I have not so much stuff then, no? Okay, we make an engineering solution, and the solution was that we have a robot. A robot can give some information outside of our opening hours. This was the idea, this was the concept, but runs not very well, I can say why. And the other one was to make an automation of identification and authentication with the ship card. Every student and staff member has a ship card. It's like a Visa card. Inside is an RFID chip, but it's deciphered. It's not cannot read the information. And with this, you can make, how do you say in German? You can every day you have to check the ship cards on this black box. The black box is outside of the facade of the building, of our building, and then you have the key in your hand that you can open the doors of our campus. A lot of our lecture halls you can open like here with these keys. No? And also the library. So we have now a system that you can open since some years before Corona. You can open the library and you can work outside of our opening hours. This was a big advantage for the customers because we have more than 20% of our students are foreigners. They have not weekend thinking and all this, and they love to work in teams. Like in schools, we have a lot of teamwork and where they can meet them, no, as team. Not at home, not in the flat, it's too small and so on. And we offer the space for this. So it's very used. And we introduced the 24/7 access in our library 2018, but without computer, without this running system of humanoid robot, because it was very difficult that we check the maintenance of the service all the time. You have to recharge the battery, for example. You have some small thing, you have to drive in, and so it was difficult. So we're offering the robot in a new way. The way is that you get an access in our library outside of our opening hours. You need a small introduction, how you have to do something. Switch on, switch off the light, for example, in case of emergency, how is your habit, and so on. No? And for this, we outfitted the robot. The name is Wilma. It's a vibe in our faces. And she gives a small introduction to everybody. Means if you are a student in Wildau and you will get an access to our space, then you need a small introduction of 15 minutes. No? It's guided by the tablet and also in combination with a big screen, with a touch screen, you can go to them. And very often come very small groups, and we have done it for one day, 20 times a day, for example, was too much. So we decided to outsource this job of introduction in the 24/7 access to the robot. And he is doing it very well. Now we have every term is access for one term, for one semester, for 300, 400 persons. And we outsourced this job to give the introduction to the students and to the staff members to robot. And this runs very well. But he is working only in the opening hours, not outside the opening hours that we have now. This is a successful example of good work, and also it's important that my team accepted new technology. Is very strong for my team, that I have a lot of ideas and we develop together new things, new tools, everyday new things. This is strong, it's very strong for me too. And so it was nice because we had, for example, one shop in Germany. They introduced also as retail management this case of robot, the same Pepper, and they don't love it. And what they have done is the station for recharge the battery go outside. So the Pepper was run out after 8 hours or so. They boycott, they don't love to work with Pepper. It's very, it's in general, very important that all members of the team love to work with a new tool. They accepted it. They make lobby work, they make marketing and all this. You know? We have to convince our team this is a good solution for us all, for us. That I mean. And here, as you see, is very accepted. Okay. But I mentioned before, we have our own discovery system. You can decide to buy, to license, or by EDS, for example, or by other ones we decide for ourselves, because our thinking, our philosophy is that we are the owner of our own data to make new things, like with Arne, for example. That we need access, complete access. We have to know the structure of the database and all this. And the other one is we have a very old local library management system or integrated library system. It's working by OCLC. CSIS Sunrise is the name. Maybe not very common here, but it's the big lack of all our library management systems. So we need the next generation of library management system is we have no ERM tools, ERM, electronic resource management tools. That means we have a local management system. I talk too much, I know, sorry. But if we have contracts by Elsevier, Wiley, open access, we couldn't put these contracts, this data, this license data for linking, resolving, and anything, we couldn't put it into this system. This is a lack that we have. We all have this lack. So the Berlin universities changed some years ago, or the Bavarian State Library is now changing. The old system also they are used or using now till the end of this year, CSIS Sunrise, and now they are changing to ALMA, for example. ALMA is a solution of Ex Libris company, is also a very matured system, you must say, but it costs a lot of things. We say in Germany, a good library work is if you spend more than 60 or less than 60 or 60% of your budget for personal stuff. You have 40% for infrastructure and collection. And I say, if you have 300,000 euros and I give more than 1/6 for infrastructure, is a bad contract. So what I will is buy more ebooks and collections and invest less in infrastructure, but I will have good infrastructure. So we decide for ourselves to invest in open source solution. This is our executive summary, more or less, I will say. And we change it. I will come back then to them. Okay. And how we can fill in this lack? Our thinking to invest in open source means also we invest in a complete other infrastructure of different digital tools. We have not one tool for all, like ALMA, for example. We invest in different tools in microsystem tools. Means we have different tools for small jobs. The job of this one, the name is Laser, is an open source. We license for 1,000 euros a year, costs nothing more or less. And all our contracts, we have more than 100 contracts for digital license, for any access, for link resolving system and information and knowledge base. We invest in this infrastructure and we get all our information that we need for access to ebooks collection and all this one in Laser. It's a kind of open source product. Is offered by other library network in North Rhine-Westphalia, and we use it very nice, and we are free to do our things with our data. So we love to tinkering. Tinkering we love in Germany, and coding too. We make for ourselves. And so I reduce my budget to invest in other infrastructure. The other one is, that you asked me before, we collect all digital data that we get about the RFID reader. The RFID gate says counted by, we have a light signal and also we have a radio wave signal. We collect it and can count how many people are in the library, how many are using the books, the printed books, for example. And we ingest also the data counter-based, as a standard counter by sushi protocols in this system. Also we have more than 50 databases and the log files, the using data here in this. This is important also to decide we licensed more products by this database or not. A lot of libraries say if we invest in each download article more than €5 a year, this is too expensive. No? For example, this is the limit that we set up for ourselves. By us, we say not more than €10 for one download. For example, we have the IEEE database. It's not very often used, but very important for our engineers or other databases. And so we decided before the last month of the year is coming to subscribe more or not for the month. No, we have it's complete separated. We have for our log files, Celos. For our library management system, for account and for landing service, we have See the Sunrise and changing now in Core. Tomorrow we start this project. We have for a search engine, we have our own discovery tool, the name is Wildau. We have our own repository, the name is Opus. As we have a farm of different tools, digital tools. It's like a soul. Huh? The user needs only one interface. The interface is discovery service. The other one is not important for users, only for us as staff. This is our internal work. This is our internal work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No. The idea of this tool is we have in our search tool, search engine, application like Pivik. Pivik is like Google Analytics. They collect our data, our usage of our discovery tool, and we can see in which time, what kind of browser, all this information we gather in this tool, in Pivik, and they put it, they exchange this data or they deliver this data in this tool, because this is from us important. No? Also means this is like an address. This is a building only for data, and the data come from outside to analyze and to visualize, not more, and to make decisions. No? At a glance, I can decide at the end to make a furthermore with this collection or not. No? Very often we decide to subscribe more, and other times, no. That's very important. And now we stay before to test the COA system. We get more than 200,000 euros in our state by our ministry of our state province Brandenburg in a cooperation with in all 7 libraries of our state Brandenburg. We are 7 university libraries, and we try to test COA as alternative to our local system that we have that could not reflect the ELM tool, for example. We know COA couldn't do it also, but we have Laser then, we don't need it. And COA costs nothing, we have to invest in infrastructure as a service. We try to work with new infrastructure, means container as a service. We have other solutions with releases and so the handling is a little bit easier then. And we tried, we need new interfaces to our library catalogs worldwide and also for interlibrary law. We have to outfit it, to adopt it, these interfaces. At the end of the year, of the next year, in the March, in this day, like this, in 1 year more, we decide to invest in COA as new service. We make a migration from our old system in a new one, and we work to this decision. This is the idea. We start tomorrow. we have staff for them, and we try it. Another very important thing is you need service. You have also chats, no? You have a chat offering here, I see. But no, that's good, not but. It's wonderful that we haven't in Wildau, for example. But very often the students are asking us something where our service level is not the same, it's not very high. Because after 4 p.m. are starting students to work in the library as information desk, as liaison manager and reference librarian, as student, for example. And difficult questions are difficult to answer. Also outside of our schedule. You need information about interlibrary loan, why I have not access to this ebook. And what we built up is a very old technology. The name is chatbot. Chatbot is an automatically answering system. Is developed by MIT professor Josef Weizenbaum. And we had a system, we tried it also 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but to, to foster the knowledge base was very time consuming. But now we have new frameworks and new tools that make it easier. They have another mathematician model to give the relations. And so we started with the chatbot in the last year, in the corona pandemic, to give a typical frequently asked question, you can get an answer. And the idea is also to port this solution. Is this matured then? Not now matured, but maybe in the next year is matured, or this year, we can port, or we can migrate it in robot system, like a Pepper. Then you can answer him the same, like the chatbot. Chatbot is only in web interface. You can give him a question like here, I can't see it, and he gives them, based on our sitemap, an answer. And also we try to work with open hardware, means that we have some dash robot on the table. It was very common, you can remember maybe in Japan. In Japan they have a lot of robots on the table in the case that in reference librarian is not in the place, so you can answer him or you can give him a question about anything like to a librarian, and at the time where you have a break or so, they can get an answer, can produce an answer for the customer about this question. That's the idea, to develop our own robot for question answering situation, and also to outfit our robot, our humanoid robot, with this chatbot. That is, the information comes in this case from the website, from our website. From our website, yes. We have to document all our things in the website. We have, I think, more than 500 pages in all, and they analyze the data. And this is the new one of this new framework. Normally, you had the knowledge base by extra to the site map, and now we have all in one. So it's easier to foster the knowledge base. The knowledge base is our sitemap, not our one. That makes easier. No? Okay. Chatbot. We are 2 applications of them. This was the ebook to go, what I mentioned before. Then you can go virtually as avatar or really with your smartphone to the library, and you get the information. That's the goal, the objective that we have. You can see the libraries as the books in the shelf, and also the books that not available or as ebook. That's the idea. That's the project that we organizing too. We have other projects. One project is, for example, is a company also from another country. We are the first adopter. We tried it in December last year, and we have a new trial now in the next month. I will say, the question is, for example, normally you give your search engine in Word, in keyword, or 2 words. And the question for us is this the future to make a search? The retrieval system are fitted for some words, but normally you need concepts. You have to detect, to analyze concepts. And in Germany, we have some of these tools in the medicine for pandemic and so on. And also we try to develop together with other companies an idea that you can upload a summary of your idea or a chapter of your thesis or of your book, and they check not the plagiarism, this is the other one, they check you have forgotten any reference. That's the idea. No? You can upload a complete text, a PDF file, a machine readable file, for example, and they checked it that with ideas, suggestions of reference, they could be important for this semantic web, for this semantic idea that you have. It's based not word-based, this is idea-based. No? This idea-based. This is one of our trials that we started with a company from Sweden, I think so, and we have a conference next week about this. No, we have no Wilma. This Iris AI, do you mean this one? This is a company, and we make a combination. We make a cooperation with them because they have a market, but not a library as market. We are not a target group of them. And we're the first library to use this service, not as library. So it is ready. It's ready. We have, yes. Why? Okay. Why? One reason is that we have other semantic search engines. For example, Uno is a company in Israel. They tested it in Bavaria, in Munich, and based on the same collection, like Iris AI, we have more than 20 years before open access articles. Means 60–70% of all new research data are open. Open web as raw material, as research data material, is open as article. No? We pay publish and read. We have the same contract like we in Germany, public and read contract. And so it means all this data are free to use, free to analyze too. So you can analyze in this connection, in this semantic idea, for example. And I think the future is not to look after word. The idea is look concept to concept, to make a matching of concepts, not of words. This is the requirement of the future of library service. Also, if you look to the library management system, now our library management system is fit for licensed products, to buy a book, but it's all open access. What is the function of our library management system? Now we have to manage, publish and read. We have to pay the publication, complete other than before we pay the license for them to read. And so we have also to reflect in our library management system the workflows, the stewardship inside this project, these tools that we have. Yes, of course. This one? More based on journals. More based on journals. I can send, this is an open company. They are very friendly and you can ask them for yourself. But we had sometimes meetings by Zoom about to develop these tools. No? For example, in the last year, they published the first book by Springer Publishers is only written by an artificial intelligence machine. The topic was physics also was the topic. Was only written down by a machine, not by an author, not by a person, not by a scientist. Yeah, was very, very famous. And okay, another tool that we are using is also is a company. They are offering it. We license, or we have a lot of subscription of more than 100 papers in the paper form, as journals like the Hürriyet, for example. No? We have the Hürriyet also in Germany. The name is Zeit, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, and so on. And we have a lot of contracts. There is permitted also by password to read parallel to the printed work, the electronic part of this newspaper or journal. And we have more than 100. But normally I cannot give the customer the password. He can change it and all this. This is difficult. So we looked after a tool that we can give an access, but nobody knows the password and the credentials, for example. And one of this company they are offering this tool is the name of the product is Hahn, Hidden Automatic Navigation, and they produced a tool where I can give you the license, the password of this journal, Split Online is a library journal, for example, and you can see we have the license for concurrent user of 10, for 10 concurrent users, here for 20, sometimes for 3 or for 1. And it means if one student or staff person is of our campus, has the same IP range or by VPN, then he can read this newspaper. We have subscribed the paper one, but also we have parallel in this product also the access to the digital one. I have, for example, the Zeit as a weekly, like Economist. We have also the Economist, you know, maybe the Economist, and we have 3 concurrent users parallel to the printed version that we get in the library. We can read it electronic one too, and we give them to a professor also. And now we can offer for all the first come serves first. The first 3 have the opportunity to read in this time the Economist, the newspaper and so on, the weekly newspaper. This is we developed also this tool, or we bought this tool by other company, and we get a lot of reputation about this tool by our professors and our secretaries of the president, because they must know what is going on in the politics about our university and so on. It was very important. I'm very thankful, accepted by our president, for example. It was important. Okay. Another challenge that we have, and I thought it also related the same in Izmir, day after yesterday, is that we develop a lot of digital new solutions. But what is also very important that you have an identity, that the students can recognize your own work. They cannot say it's like a retail and shop. You can compare with the other shop. We need our own character. We need our own profile as library, that we stay different and individual for our students and not comparable in all this with the other library of other university. Means our architect comes from the United States, this couple, said, if you come in our library, you see this factory hall, now former time this assembled locomotives, now is library, and you can identify yourself with this library and with this campus. It's a nice campus. It's like a college campus. It's a nice campus. And we have also to disseminate this feeling to our students. If they are on our tools, they're feeling like I'm student of University of Wildau. That's very important. This is also a task that I have to fill in for our university. So what we mean here in this, I'm anthropologist, means it's not the goal, the objective that all libraries have the same solutions. We have also be different from other because we are in the competition of students. We have a lack of students, for example. We fight that more students come to our university and not to the other university. It's the same like here, I think so. Not a very hard fight, but we are in competition with other universities. If you have no students, not exist more the university. That's the game. And so we have to do our part too, like others. Okay. I think in all this was a short impression about that we have done or what we are doing now in our university. Some reflects also some developments that we have in Germany. I have not mentioned it all because the bigger university libraries have more to do with research data management. It's a big topic. I not mentioned here because it was not so important for us. But in this scope, we are very active in Germany. Thanks for your attention. Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. Yes. Podcast and so on. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a lot of cooperation also with schools and with young men and young women, and we have. I write a lot of applications of proposals to get money, and we get money. Of one project was from the federal state, and we get money to make podcasts about different things of Wildau. One question was, for example, as content, could you recognize where you are if you cannot see Wildau, for example? We have also some people, they cannot see nothing, like in every country, and they have to talk about, do we have a special sound in Wildau? Now we have a forge. You can listen to the forge, for example. Doof, doof, doof. We have the church and so on. And this sounds so different that you cannot be confused, this is Wildau or this is the other town, for example. And this was the topic of the content. And the other one, we get also money for this because a lot of events could not take place. So we had some money to make an application, and we have done the application, we get the money, and we have done also podcast. Podcast was also the idea to develop podcasts for students, but not exist now so far. Students that podcast about library service, but the idea is, what is the concept? How we can convince students to listen our podcast. We have a lot of podcasts and Spotify and so on. I need the idea, a concept. I'm looking for them. And so we developed other concepts or other podcasts in context of our anniversary, our industry part, where we are in this forge and disassemble factory hall and so was, that also we misused a lot of people. The name is Zwangsarbeiter. We had in the Second World War workers from France, from Bulgaria, Greece, and so on. They must work under very bad conditions. Was not concentration lager, was the other one. And we made them a podcast about the living situation in the 40 years in Wildau to produce the locomotives and all this one. This was one of this project, and we get the money because we could not spend this money for any local event, and so we had this money to make a digital solution to celebrate our anniversary of 30 years. We are proud to be 30 years, of course. Not like here you have, I think you are older than 30 years maybe, but we are proud. And so we get money to produce podcasts. But the normal idea was to develop concepts to give students also the opportunity to listen podcasts about our library offers, but never done so far. We are looking for, maybe you have ideas. If I look to the log files of podcasts, it's not very used. No? You have to be more attractive by. Yes? Okay, yeah. Podcast to listen is very usual, of course. But if you do good things, you must convince the society to use it. That's the difficult. You have a lot of movies and so on, and nobody is looking for these movies also. Not that means, yeah. Yeah, of course. Okay, good. Then let's share our experience. What we will show too is normally I would show the space of our library in the virtual one. I couldn't see it. You couldn't show it here in this browser now. Sorry. But what we develop is we have this conference, Library Symposium, the 14th one, and this year, the 5th one was attended by EPO, for example, and we try to develop also a virtual solution how you can present your presentation. The normal presentation are PowerPoint slides, the other one are PDF files, poster session. No? It's the typical conference site work that we have. And what we have done now for a Science Week, here is together with another team to develop a virtual space where you can upload your presentation in the kind of a poster session. You can go to the space, it's a virtual space, this is a box in reality of our campus, and you can see the virtual one here. If you cannot go to the box, and can go nearby and can see posters, and you can read the full text in English and so on about this topic. And that's the idea what you try to develop also for library conferences, that you have an idea, it's not accepted your contribution, but you can upload your poster presentation like by the IFLA conference or other conferences, and you can virtually share this knowledge. Like we have now a hybrid conference, somebody is here in the space, the other one is outside, and everybody has the chance to share this experience, this knowledge, this experience. That's the idea. I think the most conferences, also the next conference, we have big library conference, Henry, as a one time a year, and they take place in different places, different towns, and more than 4,000 librarians attended on this conference. It's very accepted by public librarians and scientific librarians. And in this year, like in the last year, we make a session physical one in Leipzig, and also a virtual one. You can also share. You can also, by Zoom or other conference system, assist with the presentation. And what we need more is also the opportunity to make more touchable, more tangible the results of some research. Maybe also in this case, to virtualize the space and the poster session, for example. We have poster session every conference, and I think also that the next library conference in Wildau will help me also the opportunity that EPO or other one can upload your presentation, and besides the contribution directly in the conference. That's the idea, to develop new service. We have a lot of video conferences. There you have an own figure. You go in a conference and you have another figure. I'm any animal also, and I go in special rooms, and we can, like in a game, in a virtual game, you can go in another space, you meet other people, you can talk with them and so on. And this is some developments that are very interesting for us too, to make also in the digital world, to produce the opportunity to meet each other. That's very important. It's like metaverse, but we don't love commercial platforms. We prefer our own data. We have GDPR in Germany, as we have special rules for your rights. It's difficult, not by theses. That's allowed to put it in our shelves, But privacy is a very high value in our country, and we can't analyze our search engines like Google, for example. They have more opportunity because the data are not served in Europe, they are served in the United States, and they have more rights, other frameworks, legal frameworks to analyze. Then we can do it for page ranking and so on. Okay, sorry. Other questions, please. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not now, but in the future, yes. Not now. Not now. They have some other opportunities. You can ask where drives the next local train, what is the weather, you can listen jokes and so on. But we have some projects. One project is you say the robot, where is the book about any topic? And he goes, there is in this shelf. You have the orientation of the robot and he shows with the fingers and the hand, there is the book. No, that's the idea. But the other one is the chatbot. Okay. Yes, I understand. It's very often if we are as couple and the information desk, I and my colleague, she's a wife, the most students are going not to me, they go to my wife, as to my colleague. So what I mean, a lot of foreigners prefer to communicate with machines than with us. They are too shy also, for example. Very often they go to touchscreen, we have touchscreens, and we have library catalogs and so on, and they try a lot of things, and after them they ask that if they have no follow-on. So what I mean, the robot is very attractive for students to see new technology. It's like a fab lab or makerspace. It's a little bit of makerspace because students have some theses together with our paper. We have I think 20 theses in bachelor and master about special questions to the robot, for example. And also is important that we have, is the freshman coming, we have rush hour, like your roads and the traffic. And so they come to 2 people and the reference, maybe 20 persons, a class is coming. And so we have opportunity in this time also to offer a small service by robot, not by the man or woman on the reference desk. That's the idea behind. Mm-hmm. Siri, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know. We had a trial in Karlsruhe. They tried also to work together with Amazon solution and with Siri, and they had they coded special collection into the system of Amazon. What was the name from Amazon? Was how the name of this loudspeaker? This listening of Amazon by Amazon company. What was the name? Forgotten. They have also a Siri system. And you can coding and give them the information about the retrieval. So you can go in the library and you can ask the Amazon loudspeaker, where is the book here in Karlsruhe University Library about this and this? And he said in the floor, third floor has the shelf mark sowieso and so on. But the trouble was that we have is the GDPR, is the general rule of privacy. No, it's not allowed because the data are served, archived and stored not here in Europe. They are stored by other. So, and also you must say this as commercial solutions, you have the data not in Europe, it's not allowed for us. And so we need a lot of examples. And what we are missing is a big knowledge base about all frequently asked questions in libraries in one database. So we can outfit the chatbots better than before with our one sitemap. One sitemap is not enough. We need more examples. If you are making training of artificial intelligence, they are working better if you have a lot of examples. Is the scope broader than small? You need a lot of training data. And so our sitemap is, with 500 pages, is too small to go in competition with solutions like Siri, for example. No? It's very often the people are, they have the habit to answer something, to ask something and to get in real time and conflict and answers like the robot. If you are communicate with our robot, you need time. You must wait a little bit before comes the answer. No? Then you need the other relation to the machine. The man-machine interaction is a complete other than by man to man or woman to woman also. Yes.
Can you explain any instances, like for instance, ask the robot to help you to get some interesting answers? Because sometimes I try to fix theory, you know, to see what kind of answer she will give me. So it might be interesting to know student experiences because it's very interesting, it's exciting, it's also a marketing tool for the library.
As a marketing tool, they prefer to communicate with computer, not with me. So that I mean, it's very attractive. The robot, humanoid robot Pepper, stand in my office for 1 year to develop new things, and very often came students and grandfathers with the family and to make a picture, to make a selfie. It was very common to come in my office. I had so many visitors. It was very crowded then in my office before Corona pandemic. And it's very attractive. They come exactly only to see the Pepper and to make something with them. You can joke in English and German. You can listen jokes, and they give information about the architecture of our space and so on. You get a different information, not only about the introduction and 24/7 access, more than a little bit. We have 6 buttons there, and you can get different information. Some we have to develop. But the movement is, for example, too slow. No? You need long time to drive from one point to the next point of interest. Huh? It's impossible because the level difference between the elevator and our no, how you say, ground is too high. No? It's only 1 centimeter, and they have small 3 rolls, very small rolls, and you could switch off. Also could, how you say it? Fallen. Could be fallen then. This costs 70,000 euros. This is too much to repair them. Huh? Yeah, maybe you can also dance with them, of course. Do it. You feel free. We also tried to bring here to Turkey the smaller one. The name is now the same company, SoftBank Robotics in Japan. They developed, and we have a system, or we had the project by the Goethe Institute. The name is Robot in Residence, is Now Robot. The Now Robot is also outfitted to listen young people if they are read the book, for example, for a lecture, they can listen them. It's a complete other example, but we tried to bring also the robot here to Turkey, to Izmir or Istanbul or Ankara, but it's very difficult with your situation in, how you say, on the border. We need customer service, what is the name? Toll is a problem of the toll, of your police, of your policies, of your, how you say, aduana, in other language. If come the new technology in Turkey, we need extra paper that gives us a permit to bring new technology. It's not a weapon or anything like this to Turkey. It's difficult on the border. It's not a question of anything. It's not of the money. It's the question of the right to bring into Turkey new technology. There we have trouble. We had trouble in Goethe Institute. The robot in residence has been in Bratislava, in Prague, in Greece, in a lot of countries, 10 or 12 countries, robot in residence, but not here in Turkey. Because the reason was this one, was difficult to deliver the robot in residence to Turkey. Huh? Customer? Custom, for the custom, you know, for the custom. This was the problem. Of course, yeah, it's yours. Borrow it, lend it out. We have some libraries, they lend out robots too, in Berlin, for example. Other one, dash robots? Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. Yeah. Okay. But But public libraries have also, maybe we too, the opportunity or the task to invite young people to make coding. Now we have projects like Coding Da Vinci and so on. It means we invite people to make tinkering, like here in your makerspace. You have makerspace in public libraries, for example, too. And we do it also with Now. Now robots have a visual software, web-based software. The name is Choreograph. It's very easy to make a program. To say, a child can say the Now robot, please make with the arm this movement, for example. You can do it because it's a visual box that you have to, and you give some numbers and so on, and they can do this movement. It's very easy. You don't need any other codes and lines and so on, like Java or Perl or so on. It's easy. And what we have to do is, we need more person in Germany, they have interest to studying computer science, or they make something like coding. We have the question in the schools. We have one province, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, they are offering also coding as one lesson in the school, for example, coding, like foreign language, like English or mathematician and so on. No? And this is very important. Also, a lot of public libraries, like in Cologne is the most famous of them, they are offering, or Stuttgart, we have won also a prize for this, they are offering code courses to learn code. And you see the results. Normally you have a blinking lamp or so, or anything, or some letters. And for a child, is very motivated to make something in coding, to see this movement of a robot, or Gangnam Style is dancing and so on. No? This is very attractive. Gangnam Style is a funny thing for children. Important for you. Yes, but it's very difficult. Because if you take away, if you put, or you stow, or you pick up a book, you have the other ones in the neighborhood to put a little bit right and left side and then take it one. We had one experiment, you saw it also, was a Spain colleague. He has shown also the movie about this robot. The special robot was very difficult and need more than 5 minutes. You like 5 minutes wait? No, for every book, for each book, it's too long. I think also in the case that we have, I see on your budget, you spend more money for printed books to buy it. We spend more than 80% for digital collections, not for books. We have paid 16,000 euros of our 300,000 euros only for printed books, not more, 16,000 euros last year. Now, digitizing is not allowed. No, it's not allowed. But the advantage for the ebooks is that you can read it as remote access. No? You have not to come to the library, and so it's more attractive for students. They have never seen our campus to get the information, the qualified information about any topic in a book, for example, as a peer-reviewed system. Okay, other questions? Sorry, it was too long, I know. It was very long. Thanks. Teşekkür. Thank you. Oh no. We go to